Hi, Trojans, and welcome to our Internships 101 Leverage Your Trojan Network. My name is Lauren Othendorf. I'm the Associate Director of Internship Engagement here at the USC Career Center, and so delighted to be speaking with you today about this important topic. What I'm going to do is go through a little bit more about some of the different Career Center resources, jump right into all things networking, and then we can show you our platform where students can start to engage with alums in various industries and can help out in a number of different topics. So before we get started, just wanted to try to give a little bit more context to our office and share about our campus location. We are located in the Student Union building right here behind me here, and we do offer drop-in advising hours between Monday through Friday from 1 to 3:30. There is no appointment necessary, and the idea is students can come in with basic questions, get a review of their resume, and might even be able to get some additional insight into maybe their on-campus job, internship, or full-time job. So that offers a little bit more about that location, but the reason why everyone here is today is really trying to think or grasp around what they can do with networking. And when you think about networking, there's a lot of different ideas of what might come to mind. And usually when we ask the crowd, we hear what might come to mind. We hear that it's asking for jobs. Maybe it's trying to get information about an organization. Other people might say it's a way that you can try to connect with people in the field, hearing directly about their job functionality. Yes, that is indeed all those different items. And so what I wanted to really try to do is try to establish what we envision networking or really communicating, connecting with others does look like. We see this as trying to establish different relationships. You're in school, you're learning about different industries and job functionalities and fields, but what better way than to actually hear from someone in those different roles? It is our hope that you will certainly be building those different connections, not only with your peers in your classes, but with your faculty, with other people in your student organizations, through different campus departments. We want you to develop that long-term rapport that can certainly extend beyond just the semester. Maybe it's something that's going to happen over the course of a year or two or throughout your time here at USC, but we want you to be continuing to nurturing that process, whether it even means reconnecting with your family. Maybe you have family members, whether it's immediate or even distant, that might be working in these particular fields. Talk to them, engage with them, start to have that conversation with your friends that you see in classes or maybe you live with your professors. We encourage students to take advantage of the office hour time because that's a wonderful opportunity in which you can be trying to connect with them, learning about why they were hired because of the experience that they're working in the field, what they've done in the past. And also maybe some of these professors will eventually turn into your mentors, maybe even some of the supervisors that you have. The idea is it's trying to gain this insight or information, but also it's not just in sharing that communication, but it's looking at those different resources. What information might be available as you're looking to pursue the field? We hear time and time again, sometimes students will get tidbits of information or some pearls of wisdom about what they can do while they're in school to make themselves that much more marketable in an internship capacity. And so that's something that we are really trying to encourage. Other times you learn about different professional associations. Maybe you even get referrals. Oh, well, this is the work that I'm doing at this organization, but maybe you should talk to this recruiter. Maybe you can talk to this early talent manager who's going to be offering a little bit more insight into what that is going to be looking like. So it's certainly a really great opportunity and something we really want to try to market and really want to try to approach there. So that's a really great option. Also, wanted to let you know that a lot of times as people are having these networking, coffee chats, informational interviews, it's sometimes the first opportunity where people are hearing about the job options. And so if there is any active search that's going on, maybe you're going to hear firsthand from that resource. So it's certainly not only a great way to hear about it, but really the best way to find out about those jobs. So we highly encourage students and alums to take advantage of networking as soon as you can, really get jump started into this process. And we're going to be showing, as I mentioned earlier, about a platform that could be helpful, but we do see some individuals, making use of this within the Trojan network or LinkedIn. There's truly benefits to both, and I will talk about them. but it's really our ultimate goal that we want you to gain advice into these particular areas, particular job function or the field, just so that you feel that much more prepared. Certainly what you're learning in your classes is a great initial step as far as what that can be. To actually see individuals in those roles conducting that work and showcasing what that does look like, it's going to be so just truly priceless. And really want you to gain that career knowledge while you're in school, so then you can see, well, what information do I need to seek from them, or what other classes can I work on to be that much more knowledgeable and prepared. And certainly it's our hope that as you're meeting these individuals, it's going to help you to expand that professional network. You see within LinkedIn that you can show you've got however many connections, and we want students to have, at least those 500 plus connections. But how can you continue to further expand this figure and give you access to all these potential mentorship opportunities? So right now I'm going to lead a little bit more into what the networking research is showing. The more than 95% of job hires occur through contacts. It's probably even higher, but what we're seeing is this web of opportunity. As you're meeting with individuals, they're making further introductions and expanding this. And as I mentioned before, sometimes you learn about the job opportunities just by connecting with people. So it's truly in your best interest to know about these job posts in the moment that they're happening. So definitely make use of that. Also, we have seen that it is sometimes the easiest route to the interview because of the networking that you're doing and positioning yourself with that. So now that we've talked a little bit more about what networking is and how it can be done, I want to give you some ideas for where it could actually be happening. And so there's a lot of different ways we've seen this happen, certainly in the classroom, with faculty, through their office hours, maybe even through on-campus connections. There's a lot of different employees here at USC that really want to see the students flourish while they're here. But some of the other resources that have been very helpful have been, as I mentioned, the Trojan network, which I'm going to go into, but there's also LinkedIn. When I was meeting with a student earlier today, do you know that there's over 370,000 active alums that are on LinkedIn? And then you can engage to see, well, where is it that they're working? What types of fields are they pursuing? And the location, you can get that information so you can then conduct a very strategic search. Also, through the work of the Trojans hiring the Trojans concept in connection with the USC Alumni Association, there's a lot of different opportunities. Also, our Career Center puts on so many different events. Each semester we host a career fair, so there's a lot of different opportunity there. But between the different workshops, information sessions, networking nights, there's just so much opportunity. I am going to be talking a little bit about that Trojan network, so if you want to save that particular website, you have access to it, but I will show it to you in a few minutes. But yes, we are going to talk a little bit about the Trojan network. But before that, I want to give you some pointers for how you can successfully now network. Because sometimes the first start is just getting started. And ultimately, what I want to encourage you to do is make sure that you are putting yourself out there, not trying to think that people are going to come to you, but you have to be proactive in your search and making sure that you're presenting yourself in the best of light. So you're going to want to make sure that you're updating your profiles, making sure that you're inputting all the significant details of your graduation, your major, and so that you are then trying to stay engaged there. We also want to make sure that if you have your information out there, you're being timely and you're following up and staying connected. So if you do send an email, make sure that you are responding in a timely manner. That's going to show that you're engaged, that you're wanting to connect, and that you are truly participating in this recruitment process. As a part of that, please make sure that you're also keeping others informed. Are you in the initial stages and just trying to put yourself out there? Are you actively recruiting for either internships for this semester or maybe the upcoming summer? By sharing a little bit of that timeline and where it fits, that will help to let people know or gauge kind of how they can help with that. Because certainly you're going to want to be documenting all of this, with maybe sharing your resume, sharing your profile of these different online resources. But we want to make sure that you are certainly taking advantage of that. And so I do mention the nonverbals. A lot of times, you might not notice how you're coming across to individuals, but when you're in a meeting and you're crossing your arms, or if you're not paying attention, looking elsewhere, we want to make sure you're staying engaged, having really good eye contact, smiling, making sure that you're showing that you were truly focused on what you're doing. Sometimes we'll see that students, maybe you're not focusing on the camera and you're looking away. That's not showing engagement. And we want to make sure that you are delivering yourself in the best of light and making sure that you can handle yourself in all those situations. And sometimes the way that you can really practice that is through these informational interviews. Sometimes we see this being presented in more of the academic setting. You have to do informational interviews for classes. Sometimes that does come across as even coffee chats. And so wanted to offer a little bit more idea on what that does look like. But these are really one-on-one opportunities or occasions to really collect that information, to learn a little bit more about not only the individual, but the organization, and a chance for it to truly be a dialogue between two different people. And so it can be in person, it can also be virtual, but it's a chance for you to address some of your questions. Maybe you wrote down some things about, gosh, I was looking through your LinkedIn profile and I see that, when you were at USC, you participated in this particular student organization. Do you know that I'm actually now in it? And this is the type of work that, we're doing. And I really was drawn to your profile because I could then see how maybe this service organization aligned with what you were doing or this particular industry. And so you have the chance to not only ask your questions, but practice that elevator pitch and learn a little bit more about that opportunity. So that's definitely something I would recommend. As students are going back and forth in this conversation, sometimes it's as few as 10, 15, 20 minutes. Sometimes it might even be longer. But what I would say is that for each of those conversations that you do have, a question that would be really advantageous to you would be saying, are there any other individuals that you could recommend that I speak to, whether it's at the organization, maybe another Trojan that they went to classes or school with that might be able to offer that referral. And the idea is it's going to then further expand who you're speaking with. Maybe they know about potential job opportunities or internships. And so you certainly just want to make sure that you can continue to move forward in this process. And so certainly as you have these different sessions, jot down when you're going to be following up. Maybe you want to follow up later in the semester, maybe in 6 months from when you've had that contact. But the idea is kind of create that tracking system of when you would be doing that, so then you can keep these contacts informed. So now you know a little bit more about how to get started with networking and what that does look like. I want to offer a little bit more of a snapshot into what our Trojan network is looking like. And again, here's the website to where you can log in. Once you get to that website, you're going to log in with your USC credentials, and here's where you'll be able to manage the search. Again, as I mentioned, it's going to allow you to search specifically by location or even major or industries. And you can see for the people who are able to chat now over the ones that you can then send a message to. But this is the platform that I typically tell some of our newer students who are just getting maybe associated with trying to network or communicate with alums. It's a great kind of initial step. If you are still working on maybe building up your LinkedIn profile or you kind of want an initial kind of jump start to get started with this process, really it's the Trojan Network that's going to be that best resource for you. So I will be jumping into that platform in just a minute, but just wanted to try to offer some, few friendly reminders of what is it that you can do. You want to network, not just because, someone from the Career Center has told you to do that, but we said it was really kind of the easiest way to get that, interview and really trying to help set you up for whether it's an on-campus position, an internship, or even a full-time position. Also, because of this process and presenting yourself in your communication and the outreach, you want to make sure how is it you are going to be pitching yourself. We see that is essentially knowing who you are, what is it that you're asking for, and then following through with it. If you're going to ask for 10 to 15 minutes of their time for an informational interview, follow through, be accountable. You are right now creating your brand, and you want to make sure that you are being as truthful as you say you are. So you want to think about that. And you want to start small because here's the thing, you're just planting the seeds for what it is you're trying to do. It is the hope that maybe some of these connections that you make will eventually become maybe supervisors or mentors. You're really trying to think about that long-term investment in establishing those relationships, because this is a part of your Trojan family or your Trojan network that you can then rely on for every step of the way with each new internship with each new semester. And so it's our hope that by starting this process kind of earlier on, it's going to lead to some further connections, other information, and opportunity. So right now, what I'm going to do is I'm actually then going to pivot over to then our website and specifically the Trojan Network. All right, so now we're going to jump back over specifically to the Trojan Network, and what you're going to see here is there is a great opportunity to be able to see the homepage. When you first go in to log in, you're going to log in with your USC credentials, and specifically here, what you're going to see is that there's a number of different opportunities for you to input maybe some of the different involvements, as well as career industries. There's a lot of different information to help get you started there. Then on the home screen here, what you're going to see is that it's going to ask students to try to set up any meeting availability. Rather than toggling back between calendars and class schedules, here's a way that you can set that up in advance to try to really help to streamline this conversation. And then what you're going to be able to do is set up some of your different goals. Are you trying to find career paths? Are you hoping to build up your network and community? I think for most of us, what we're trying to do is further expand this network and see what we can do to gain some insight there. So what I'm going to say is let's start there, and you can certainly create your network from here. However, you can also do this from the Connect and Networking tab. This will then give you the full vantage point of all those different alums that are here on the platform and really truly engage with your community. So first want to mention, here you're going to see the best different card view vantage point of what this does look like. Just note that you can also switch this to map view. So for our students who are thinking, I'd love to try to find Trojans by a particular location, you can then see where our active users. Of course, we're in Los Angeles, so you're going to see this number be much more concentrated here in the Southern California region, but just wanted to show you that you did have that as an option. But then for the purposes of our initial overview, here's where I want you to be able to see, yes, you can do a general search, either maybe you're looking for a particular individual or a grad year or a specific company, but you can also search by help topics. Maybe you're doing some initial career exploration and wanted to learn more about choosing a career path. We have that piece. Maybe you wanted someone to take a look at your resume or cover letter. You have that as well. But I can search, further down by maybe I want someone who can offer me some help with some internships, maybe some industry insights, because I'm very curious to learn a little bit more about particular job functionalities. And so you can select some of that information. Then you can switch over to industries and see some of these pre-populated ones. You can see how the numbers will then, change depending upon what that, involvement does look like. But for the purposes of our search, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look then by specific industry. I'm going to go, let's see, just because accounting's first, let's see how many different accounting, accounting connections there might be. And just by doing that, you'll see that there's 694. And you will see then not only does it include the major and or the graduation, it'll give you a quick snapshot of who are all these individuals. What I love about this is that I know that sometimes students don't have a lot of time to be able to filtering through this, but let's say you see one and you think, wow, okay, here's someone that, maybe you see a particular organization of, oh, here's someone who works at the Los Angeles County Office of Education. Yes, I'd absolutely love to learn about their experience. I can then bookmark it. So then when I want to come back, when I have a little bit more time, rather than filtering through these 694 matches, I can go in and pull directly from my bookmarks based on what I've identified here in my profile under my bookmarks. So there's that. But since I'm showing this for the first time to some students, what I want to do is show how when you select any of these individuals, I can get a little bit more detail. So here's Peter, talks a little bit about being the price systems lead at HP. And then when I click on Peter's information, it'll give me a little bit more insight. In this case, Peter has retired, but happy to help out with networking and informational interviewing. Maybe can make some recommendations to people who are still in the field. And then also it's going to show you the opportunities, or what are some of these active listings that are currently available, and they're nationwide opportunities. So that's fine, but it's going to show you that here's the link to them. So you can click on view details for more information. But what I really do love about the Trojan Network is that when I meet, and maybe I'm going to go back and do another search in particular. I'll close that out, but I want to then see, okay, maybe someone who graduated, maybe let's say within someone a little bit more recent. Okay, let's go with maybe someone who has, I wanted to see, and maybe I should switch up. I'm just going to type in, specifically, I'd like to see someone, let's try maybe something more creative. Let's go into marketing, advertising, PR, and marketing. That spans across several different majors. You'll see that there's 360. And here's someone who's graduated within the last, let's say, graduated about 20 years ago. Great name. So I'm going to go in and then see, okay, here's someone that's offered a little bit more insight, and this might be helpful for the purposes of my explanation here. About me, graduated in 2004. I want to leave each day with purpose and want to leave people better for having met me. I'm a relationship-driven connector, research-driven problem solver, and design-driven creator. And so this is a product owner with some of this history. But as you can see under their expertise, it shows that they're willing to help with resume and cover letter, any sort of mock interviews, how to transition to life after school, knowing that sometimes that can be a little bit of a challenging process, as well as networking and informational interviewing and career and industry trends. What's also nice about this alum in particular, they've also indicated they are familiar with all these industries. So here you've got a nice quick snapshot of that, in addition to, the opportunities that are tied to the organizations that they've had affiliation with. And it even talks a little bit about, well, where did they live when they were at USC? Or what were some of their memberships or involvement? So if you're like, wow, I'd love to, reach out to Lauren, I'm very much interested in that, and I see that she's in Boulder, Colorado now, you can then go to message Lauren. This is where sometimes students have the biggest adjustment of, oh my gosh, what am I going to say to Lauren? Do I start off with, I'd love to meet with you, or I'd like a job or internship? What does that actually look like? We actually have these templates. So if you're looking for maybe some networking advice, then use this one. I'm trying to work on networking to create more connections within the business industry. Would you be open to letting me practice doing an informational interview? I'd like to ask questions about your expertise in this role. Thanks for being part of the Trojan Network. Now know that this is a template. So of course, try to, make it a little bit more of your own and personalize it, but at least it gives you some initial, sentences to start your outreach. Alternatively, if you wanted to do something that was more career exploration of, while browsing the Trojan Network, your profile appeared. Can you share what projects or challenges are currently, a part of your day-to-day as a senior product manager? I'd like to learn more about what you do and how to apply my international relations major, whatever it may be. To have availability in the next 2 weeks, definitely make sure when you start your outreach, it's not just, I want to talk to you, but what is that ask? You'd like to have 15 to 20 minutes to be able to talk. Whether if they're in Los Angeles and you want to do this in person versus virtually, make sure you state your specific ask in this initial outreach. Also, one of my favorite parts of this are then the suggestions, because it'll say, consider using words like thanks or thank you. Also, add the meeting request, because that'll then show you the value of collaboration. Don't forget to upload your attachment. What I love about this, and you can certainly see it in lifetime as I type, it'll say, I want a job. Notice at the moment that I say that, there's an additional suggestion that pops up, and you will see that it says, we've noticed you use the word job or internship in this message. It's okay to share that you're searching for opportunities, but remember not to ask directly for a job if you haven't first built that rapport. Instead, ask for best practices or maybe resume help. So again, you're trying to establish this connection. You're not going from meeting them to getting the job offer. There's a lot of steps in between that you need to really be able to show your work ethic, your character, talk about some of your other progress. So again, this is trying to help you to leading to those connections, leading you to that opportunity, but you do have to put that groundwork in. So wanted to make sure that you could see that. You can go ahead and then send it for any, and I'm going to cancel this message so I don't send it in particular, but what's nice to know is that when you do go back to your site, and specifically then when you go to your inbox, this is when you will see all of the past conversations that you've had with individuals. For whatever reason, something has popped up, but usually that page will then be refreshed with some of those different experiences. So we have that. It's probably because I'm recording here, but just know that that's where you can then find that information. Going back to connect and then the network page, also wanted to let you know that you could do saved alerts.
What's wonderful is you can then create new alerts. So if you wanted to try to create an alert specifically for your major or maybe your industry, you can certainly do that. Just know that I've done one for LA Education Alerts. So then monthly there would be an email that comes out of, here are all the new individuals who work in education in Los Angeles. So then I can see if that might be of interest, for people who are pursuing that field. So that's certainly a really great way to see that. As you can see, you can also then search for company. I love that not only does it allow you to search for anywhere on their profiles, but is it current? Do you want to see someone who has specifically been working at Amgen? Or do you want to make sure that they're still currently at Amgen? So for those who are thinking about going into biotech or pharmaceuticals, then you might be thinking, okay, well, who's still at Amgen? Well, here's someone who's a scientist there, someone who is the executive director for business development, or a systems engineer. And again, just like how we did with the previous search, you would simply just click on their name, get another quick snapshot of what is their role and where they're able to help out with, and then you can message them just as easily with how we did it before, or if you need a little bit more time because maybe you've got to run to class or something else, you can then bookmark it. So that is really our Trojan network. Just know that some of the other different search criteria that you can look at would be either under the education. So maybe, at first I was seeing some of those graduation years that were extending beyond a decade. Maybe you're like, you know what? I want to see everyone that has graduated, within the last year. What is it that they're doing? When you get that search, then you'll see, okay, maybe there's not as many there because that hasn't been updated, not a problem. But let's go ahead and then conduct our search in a different way. Maybe you want to go in and say, I'd like to see graduation year for maybe 2000, or maybe something that's a little bit more distant. You can certainly do that. Otherwise, maybe you wanted to look by specific school. Maybe you're coming from, we've got 23 plus schools to look at. So maybe you want to put in your specific school to see what comes up. You can do that, or even by degree type. I know there's a lot of different degrees, whether it's undergrad, master's, or even doctorate. That's how you can search there. Under majors, hundreds plus of majors that are continuing to evolve. So maybe you want to look at that scope, or even just by the general school. So then regardless of degree type or major, you can search by overall the fields. There's also that opportunity for location, much like how I said you could search them by location view here. You can then type in a particular location here. Just know that it searches within a 20-mile radius. And it's going to go by Google search. So you can't do like individual, neighborhoods. Sometimes people think, oh, I'm going to search for this specific area. One time a student said, oh, I'm looking specifically for like Chatsworth. And I'm like, well, let's then kind of narrow that out to, or let's expand that out to Los Angeles, and then we can kind of drill down otherwise. For communities, these are some of the different individual groups that we have seen here at USC. So just want to make sure that we've highlighted that information, maybe veteran status, transfer student, members of different organizations. So we do have those different community groups. There's also the different residential communities here on our campus. So maybe you participated in one of those, maybe your first or second year, or if you want to try to add any of your involvement. We know that there are so many different recognized student organizations or RSOs here. And sometimes by adding that additional detail, people are going to be more drawn to that experience. So that's something that you can do. So this is really just kind of a quick little snapshot of how you're able to connect and then network. Just know that there are some formalized mentor programs where you can then be paired with an alum one-to-one, but there's certainly a lot more opportunity through the networking tab. Otherwise, this jobs feature is something that is available to students. We do recognize that a lot of students will be utilizing Handshake, which is our premier job, internship, and on-campus platform specifically for the Career Center, but this is just providing another quick snapshot of where alums on the platform are connected. So what I really like about it is that if you were like, oh, wow, Luna works here, Caroline works there, and you can see these connections, it then is allowing you to then connect with them to see, oh, Luna worked at this organization and may be able to help you with this job. Well, let's now go back to Luna's profile to see what was their involvement? What was it that they might be, happy to help with? And in this case, it says specialize in real estate, path through business tax, master in business taxation. There's two different things that are in common, and then they would showcase that. It'll also then highlight any of those additional experiences. And in this case, it's not allowing me to message Luna. Just know that when alums go in and create their profiles, they indicate how often they're able to speak to students. They have full-time jobs, they've got, their lives to live. So sometimes they might only say, you know what, I can only help 3 people for any 30-day period. So that's why then this is not coming up. But just know within the next 30 days, Luna will become available, and then you will be able to outreach them once that time piece has elapsed and they're now able to connect with people. So just know that people, students have usually said that these alums have been quicker to respond. There haven't had to be as many nudges. So just know that that's something that we see on that piece. So that's probably one of my favorite features about the jobs piece. And much like how under the networking tab, you could search by company or location or industry, you have those same different functionalities. Let's see if Caroline is able to message. So in this case, for Caroline, who graduated in 2020 and is able to share that, you can then message Caroline directly regarding some of that experience. So we've got that. And that's just a quick way that you can see that. I'm going to cancel that message so I can show you a little bit more of just some of our resources. Again, a lot of our resources are also going to be just at our main career page, which is just careers.usc.edu. But here's pretty much what I wanted to share about the Trojan Network. And as far as how you can then ultimately leverage your Trojan Network is first, really understanding the great importance and value that networking has made this whole job search that much more, I would say possible, but then successful in putting yourself out there. So not only is it taking advantage of networking, but then knowing where to go in order to start that process, and then being extremely more proactive and forward thinking in how it is you're going to outreach this, how you're going to not only just create your network with who you want to bookmark, but then actually sending that message and scheduling those informational interviews or coffee chats, and then asking them about other connections or referrals that those individuals can make. So it's truly my hope that you will have a better understanding of how you can utilize not only all your available resources here at USC, but specifically in the Career Center and specifically with your Trojan Network. So with that, I just want to say
thank you so much, Trojans. I hope that you've gained a little bit more insight, and it's provided a little bit more of a pathway for how you can leverage your Trojan Network. Thank you so much, and fight on.